Hey everyone, Mark Edward Willows here, and welcome once again to Gabbin Cabin. I am really excited about the show today that we are doing because if you watch the Winchesters, I have the big star from the show here. And come on, let's face it, who does not watch the Winchesters? Well, joining me here is the lead actor who plays John Winchester on the show. And I know, ladies, you're all screaming out there. Yes, he's here. Drake Rodger. Drake, welcome to the program.
How you doing? Thanks for having me, Mark. Appreciate it.
Listen, first question I need to ask you. You play a very interesting character on the program. What is it like to play the character of John?
It's a huge responsibility. I was a huge fan of the show. I watched season 1 through 12 with my brother growing up, so I was very familiar with the show, very familiar with the characters. So when I got the call, it was like you're taking on a legacy that Jeffrey Dean Morgan had built, a legacy that the boys had crafted, and that the show Supernatural had laid out before me. So yeah, I felt a massive responsibility to tell the story and to tell the character correctly and honestly. And yeah, I was so grateful to have that opportunity.
What do you think made the show the success it was? I mean, we're talking 15 seasons. That's kind of unheard of in television. What do you think made it? And of course, Jensen Ackles, we need to point out, was behind it, the producer of it. What do you think made that show what it was?
It had to be the relationship between, honestly, between Jensen and Jerry. I don't think you can fabricate something like that. You know, they have a chemistry, and I was just with them in Dallas at a Creation Con, and there's just some undeniable chemistry between the two of them, and it's palpable. You can feel it just being in a room with them. And yeah, I don't know how you capture that. I don't know how you cast that, but whoever did it and however they did a fantastic job. Yeah, I think that's really what led the show. And they're both two incredibly talented actors, and they're just great guys. So yeah,
And what is life like playing John? What is a day like for you on the set? Is it up in the morning, bed early? What does it consist of? Tell us.
yeah. For Meg, who plays Mary Campbell, and I, it's usually first up, last out kind of thing. We work 8 days out of 8 days for an episode, which is great. It's a blast to be there on set. But yeah, we get up, we go to set. You know, you're about an hour and a half in the makeup chair, and then you're straight to work, and you don't stop till the bell rings.
It's hard to believe that you would be in a makeup chair for an hour and a half. I would think 10 minutes may do you.
Well, they got the whiskey and tequila in there, so that's
Oh, okay. Now, when the role of John came up, what did you do? Was it the normal audition process? How did you get the part?
yeah. So it came through a normal audition process. I got it through my managers and my agents, and I got the audition. And like I said, I was a huge fan, so I was pretty skeptical because you said it right. They had a perfect show, 15 seasons, and I was like, I don't want to ruin this by doing a prequel. And then I read the prequel. I read the pilot for it. I was impressed, and I saw that they definitely had a clear vision and a place they wanted to go with it. So then I taped, got a call back, did the call back, and then I ended up doing what was it, 27 hours worth of chemistry reads, is what I think it came out to be. Yeah, I did 9 different days, 3 hours a day. So yeah, 28
Mm.
hours.
Wow. And did you get picked by Jensen or by the casting director or by whom?
I found out later on. I think the first person to pick me was Daniil, um,
Oh,
one of the producers on the show, and also
mhm.
Jensen's wife.
Right.
Um, and I think she was the first one that saw me, and then she was pretty much my quarterback, and pulled
Uh-huh.
me through and convinced the others. And after that, but I think by the time I hit the callback circuit, I felt support from everybody that's what they
Hmm.
had decided.
Hmm.
Uh, but then there's the politicking that goes on. So
Hmm. And of course, you are no stranger to the business. I mean, before the show, you did a couple of films. You were in between, Not Alone, Murder RX. So you had experience in the business. Now, how did all of the acting come about for you? Is it just one day you got up and said, "This is what I want to do for a living," or how did all that come about?
well, good question. I was born and raised in like Iowa,
Mhm.
all up and down the Midwest. I moved
In the
20.
cornfields.
Yeah, in the cornfields, in the cornfields. It's cornfields as it gets. But I've moved 28 times throughout my entire life, and I think moving a lot, it shook my social like parameters up. So I didn't have a lot of friends. And when I moved out of Ohio, I moved back to Iowa, and then from Iowa we went down to Florida, and that was the furthest move from anything that I had known. So I was pretty alone, and kind of hit a depressive state probably around like 14, and got just real closed off and sheltered. And I fell in love with a pretty popular TV series called Friends, and
Mhm.
another TV series called Teen Wolf. And those two shows were the two that I watched all the time. And it was through those shows that I got to experience like laughter, love, happiness, sadness, mourning, loss, relationships, friendships, because I didn't have that in my life.
Mhm.
And it was
So
something.
you basically, we could say, growing up as a kid, you grew up with the television set.
I did. I guess I just grew up watching. I grew up as a fan, and it meant something to me. And I decided about at 16, I was like, if that got me out of such a dark period of time, if I could ever do that for someone else,
Mhm.
that's all I want to do.
And how did the move to Los Angeles and everything come about?
So the move to Los Angeles, actually, Peter was an actor, my manager. He was an
Mhm.
actor in the 90s, and he had developed a friendship with my manager that I had in Florida, Todd Sheeler. And they had kind of known each other, and Todd kind of hired me on and was like, hey, I'm not your forever manager, but I want to get you. I know this guy out in LA. He'd be great for you. And so he ended up hooking me up with Peter. I flew out here, and once I met Peter, it was a done deal. Yeah, and it was shortly after that I just came out.
Mhm. And now that you are doing all of this, is this something that's a goal you want to pursue even further?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Um,
So what are some of the goals? More movies, more TV shows, commercials? What are your goals?
Jensen puts it really well. I just want to work on cool shit.
Oh.
Um, whatever that looks like. I'm a very big movie fan, and if I had to choose, I'd probably choose movies or limited series or something on the streaming line of things. I like that format of filmmaking. But yeah, I'm into anything that's cool, anything that is heart based or based in the heart, and that it's hyper realistic. But it can be anything. It could be sci-fi as long as the heart of the film is there, as long as there's a strong narrative and we're trying to say something with the project. That's piqued my interest, but at the same time, if it's cool, I'm there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Now, if not for all of this, would there be anything you would like to do in life? Have you ever given thought to anything? Because I know you've been doing this most of your life, and I talk to a lot of actors, and they've been in it too all their life, and they joke, though. I say, mean, there's something else besides this. How,
Yeah.
how do you feel about that?
Um, Before this, my whole life I was gearing. I wanted to be in the military. Um, but since I was an actor, if I was going to do anything else, I feel like it'd have to be in the same field. I'd probably do. I'm very interested in directing, so it'd probably be something in that field. But outside of the artistic field, I don't know. I don't know what all I'd be really good at, to be honest with you, Mark.
Now, what would you be directing? Television, movies, both?
Movies, yeah,
Movies.
movies,
You seem
yeah.
like you really have a goal for movies. Would there be any particular part you would like to direct, or would there be a particular role you would like to play in a movie?
Oh man, I'm a huge fan. There's a movie called The Warrior with Tom Hardy and
Mhm.
a couple of those guys, and anything like that would be incredible. Where it's like an indie art house film where it has like again it's more like a specific vision, a specific thing that you're saying that can be a little edgy. So I would love to direct or to act in anything like that. Anything like even there's a movie out right now. I think it's going to go for the Oscars. Is Everything Everywhere All at Once. Again,
Mhm.
it's so sci-fi, but the heart of the movie is right there. So yeah, I would
Mhm.
love just a chance to be able to create with some of the best creatives would be incredible.
Mhm. You seem like a very creative young fella. I
Thanks.
admire that. Now, let me ask you this. You've been doing this for so long, but back in the day, say in Iowa, did you ever really in your wildest dreams think you would be in Los Angeles, let alone being the star of the Winchesters?
No, not at all. And that's kind of the thing that I felt a lot of love and outpour from my family and friends and neighbors from Iowa is that when you're in Middle America, or just most of America, this world seems so far, and it seems like it's just a dream, and it doesn't seem like it happens to people like me or people in my circumstance. And I'm just proud. I'm proud that I can be some sort of example of like, hey man, it doesn't matter where you come from. If you work hard and you
Mhm.
put it, you'll
And that
success.
is, yeah, that is the key, working hard. What about persistence? Does persistence pay off in Hollywood?
Of course, yeah, it's a staying game. Somebody told me that really really early on. If you stay, it'll happen. And if you keep working,
Mhm.
it'll happen. Yeah, man, everybody wants to work with the moving train, and so if you can be a
Mhm.
moving train, everybody wants to hop on there.
Right.
So,
Now, for somebody watching that maybe has aspirations to be in the business and do what you are doing, what advice would you give for them? Would you say start community theater, do things, be in things, just keep going? What would your advice be?
my honest advice is going to be ask yourself why you want to do it, and really really find your why. And if your why is fame based, if it's money based, it's going to be a really really rough road, because those are two
Mhm.
really hard things to fall back on. But if your why is some artistic endeavor, if it's, this is what I love, and I want to create because I want to affect, like those are things that you can fall on when you're not sick, when you are struggling to pay your bills, or you are struggling to put food on the table, and those things will happen. Like you got to be able to fall back on your why am I doing this? So that would be
Mhm.
my advice, is first identify that, and then all those other steps, they fall into place, the persistence and the hard work, but you got to know
Mhm.
why you're first.
Mhm. Okay. Now, going back when you auditioned to try it out for the role of John and you found out you got it, did you, at the time when you did it, did you think you would get it, or did you kind of walk out and say, huh, I don't know?
No, I didn't. I didn't. I pretty much every single, like I said, I did 9 chemistry tests, and every single time, I didn't know that I booked it till the 7th, and every single read before that, I was like, oh, I'm the fluffer. Like I'm the guy who goes in and they read the girls with me to get them warmed up, and then they're reading it for some other guy. Like I'm the guy who warms them up, and then they go tape with this other John, and
Mhm.
one that they're looking for. And
Mhm.
it just speaks to your level of insecurity, because I've spoken to the producers, and I told them that I was like, yeah, I was short, and I got upset along the process, because I was like, oh, this is so like unfair, and like
Mhm.
it sucked it, and it just speaks to the insecurity, because in their minds they were like, oh, that was never the case, like you were the guy, we just had to go through the protocol of it.
Mhm.
And so yeah, like I had and have massive insecurity when it comes to my art, because it's something that means a lot to me, and I'm putting my
Mhm.
heart out there, and I'm trying to achieve something with it. And I think, yeah, like I offset, I'd freak out, and I have to talk to Meg, or I'd talk to my castmates. I'd be like, hey, am I good at this? Am I doing good? Every
Mhm.
single day. I don't think that that's something that really leaves. That I think there's a level of confidence that you find, but I think if it means something to you, there will always be a level of insecurity.
Mhm. And explain for someone that doesn't know out there, you talk about the chemistry test. Is that putting you on set with the actors that you will be working with to see how well you do, or what is that? Explain it.
Yeah, so a chemistry test is basically, you'll go through these audition phases where everything is like over camera now, post COVID. Everything is self tape, and then the chemistry read is the first time that you read with whoever is playing your opposite. So if for the boys, for Supernatural, it would have been Jared and Jensen, and they would get together on set before they're cast, and they would read together, because you want to see, again, you got to, what they're looking for is that Jared and Jensen chemistry. What they're
Right.
looking for is that the Meg and Drake chemistry. And they read you with several people until they find what they're looking for, and that's the important thing to that I would tell anyone who's aspiring to be an actor, is they have something specific that they're looking for, and if they
Mhm.
don't find it in you, that does not mean that you're talentless. It doesn't mean that the person that they found it in is more talented. Everybody
Mhm.
has their essence, and they're just looking to pair this essence with that essence, and when they see it, they know, and when they don't, they don't.
Mhm. Let me ask you this, just getting briefly on Jensen, for some people that may remember, I mean, he started out in the business way back when on Days of Our Lives. I mean, I remember that. So talk also about working the way up the ladder. Did he ever sit down and explain to you the road in Hollywood? Did you guys ever get together and talk about it?
Yeah, I actually, not even an hour and a half ago, I was on the phone with Jensen, and I was approaching a point in my career, and I'm like, hey, like I need some advice with this stuff, and can you offer some guidance? And he's an open resource for all of us
Mhm.
cast, but especially for myself, at least my relationship with him, he's always a phone call away, and it's one that he probably gets annoyed. Eventually, he's just gonna start we can mute on that. But he's been an incredible resource and an incredible guidance for me.
Mhm. How important is the relationship between the actor and the producer in Hollywood?
It's incredibly important. It's an incredibly important relationship, and one that if you can find it, it's a fortunate thing, because
Mhm.
they see the business in a different light and they can offer a different perspective on the situation that you're in, and then those relationships build, and then you got guys who will fight for you in other rooms and other shows on other projects.
Mhm.
It's
Now,
very
do you have the relationship with Jensen where you could sit down and ever give some input into your character, maybe like what you would like to see John do?
100%. Yeah, Jensen, Daniil, Robbie, Renee, who was on. They're all open doors, and they Robbie Thompson, the showrunner, he's done a
Mhm.
phenomenal job. He sat down with all of us when we got cast, and he was like, "What do you want to see from your character? Where do you want to go?" And then I'll see what I can do. Like I want to hear
Now,
it.
is that kind of a rarity in Hollywood?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
that's a
massive.
great family to be in.
Yeah, yeah, it's a rarity, and I truly I have nothing but the utmost respect for Robbie because opening that door, there's a reason for it being a rare thing. Is
Mhm.
you're opening a lot of creative input from a lot of people and a lot of things that they're asking for you can't give, and so for him to do that is a massive undertaking, and he always operated in such a professional manner, and I just nothing but respect for him.
Mhm. And do you think by watching Supernatural, like you said, you were a fan of the show? Do you think that helped you get the role?
Um, yeah, yeah, I do because there was a line in the audition, and it's in the pilot, and there's this like there's this moment where Mary's walking away from John, and I have a line that's like, "You never
Mhm.
told me your name," and she walks off, says some smirk back, and then my character says, "It's John, by the way, John Winchester." And when I read that, I've seen that scene in
Mhm.
Supernatural. I was like, I know exactly how the boys would do this, and they would do this whole like they'd walk forward and they say, "It's John, by the way." And then they have to do that whole stop, chest perked up, and then that stare right at the camera. John. And it's like, I knew that that's what they were looking for. And after I got cast, I talked to Daniil, and she was like, when we were watching, like all of us watching the tape, and your character said, "It's John Winchester." She's like, we were all like, "Yep." And I was like, "Oh, it's because I had a little bit of an advantage, I guess. I knew the
Mhm.
formula of the show.
Mhm.
Um, so I don't know. I think that helped. It helped me.
Yeah. Now, when you are on the set with the actors and doing the script and the cameras are on, is it sort of word for word? Do you guys do a lot of improvising, or do you also do playing off of each other?
That's pretty typically dependent on the writers. Robbie Jensen and then they and Daniil, they provide a very open, like, at least just give us one on the page, and then after that you do what you want. And if our producing director, who is basically the director who's on set for every episode, even though
Mhm.
each episode has its own individual director, um, he allows us to just play. And if we have ideas, we go to him, and then sometimes you just do it, and then you just see what people say. And it's
Mhm.
Jensen always told us, and Jared always told us, that they had this motto on Supernatural: it's the best idea wins. Doesn't matter who it comes from. Whoever's got the best idea, like, take it and go. And that's pretty much the environment that we have on the Winchesters: is best
Mhm.
idea wins. Um, doesn't matter who it comes from.
Mhm. And in real life, how do you handle your success? Right now, you seem very low keyed, wonderful guy, want to have coffee with you. Is that how you really are? Is it just you going to a job, you come home, and it's your life?
I would like to think so. Yeah, I to be honest with you, Mark, I don't really view myself as a person who's attained success. I don't know. For me, it's a pursuit, and I don't know if I'll ever view myself as successful. I'm just trying to live my life exactly how I was before I booked it. I got the same great friends. I got the same great team, and yeah, I'm just
Mhm.
trying to fill myself with those things, and yeah.
Mhm. And what does your family say now that you're doing this? Parents, do you have brothers, sisters? Are they like, wow, look what my brothers and sisters do?
I do. I have an older brother, younger sister, and I'm the middle of the three of us. Yeah, it's. I guess there's where a little bit of I get a little bit of a pride and a little ego boost, is just to know that they they see now, like they see what I've had to like see and believe, and what my team is the only ones who believed in, and they can see like, oh, he's in LA, like there's actually a career in this for him, there's actually a future, because for 5 years I didn't do anything, and I wasn't
Mhm.
bringing any money, and it's
Mhm.
like, oh, my son's 2,000, 3,000 miles away pursuing this dream. I want to be supportive, but I'm also his mother. Like, how do I
Hmm.
do? And so this just alleviates a lot of that stress.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it's nice to feel that they're proud of something, even though I've always felt that they've been proud of
Hmm.
me.
Now, when you came out to Los Angeles, were you doing something to pay your bills, or were you acting immediately when you came
No,
out?
so I decided over the course of 2 days to move to LA. I was on Craigslist. I don't recommend this. I was on Craigslist and I saw just one picture of a mansion in West Hollywood Hills, and it was like, "Hey, come live with me, my wife, and dog sit our house for 7 days a week, and you can live for free in this place." And I was like, "That's a scam," but I'll submit my application. So I submitted my application. I got a call the next day, and the guy was like, "Hey, fly out tomorrow." And I was like, "I can't do tomorrow, but I'll do the next day." And I flew out the next day, and it was super legit, and it ended up working. Again, I don't recommend that to anybody.
Right, right. That's one out of a million.
That's really lucky, 1 out of 1 million.
And you really lucked out there, Drake. Let me tell you.
I did. I really did. And so yeah, that's kind of how I got out here, and yeah, that's how I got my start.
Mhm. Now, when you came to Hollywood and landed in Hollywood, what was your impression immediately? Like, wow, because I've been there 1,000 times. I mean, did you first do the Hollywood Boulevard, the Stars, the Walk of Fame, the Hollywood Hill? What was your first impression when you got there?
My first impression was, wow, the amount of culture here.
Mhm.
You don't experience that where I'm from. And so it was a cultural overload. I was like, oh wow, I don't fit in here at all.
Mhm.
I'm 5 years in, and I'm just now learning that like fashion, your clothes, the things that you wear are expressions of yourself. But
Mhm.
that's like these people grew up like that, and
Right.
it's just a different world. And it's
So what you're saying is no flannel shirts in Hollywood, right?
flannel shirts in Hollywood. No, no, except for me. So if you see one walking, it's a 50-50. It's me.
There's Drake. Hey.
But yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, and you adapted very well. Now, what is there something that you would want to tell your fans about yourself that you would want them to know that I would not even think of asking you? Anything special? Anything Drake does? Any hobbies? Anything?
Oh, I mean, hobbies for me, I'm such a wilderness person. I'm a wilderness nut. If you want to find me in LA, first of all, look outside of LA because I'll be on some hike on some mountain somewhere.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I'm the guy who didn't prep for the hike and is shirtless and it's like 12 degrees outside and I'm frozen like this.
Mhm.
Uh, but yeah, I guess the thing that you wouldn't expect about me, um, well, it'll make my manager laugh. I love to cook. I'll just say that,
Ah.
and I love the food that I cook. But
Mhm.
objectively, I'm a horrible, horrible, horrible cook.
Really?
I food poisoned myself 3 times in the course of 2 weeks, and I blew up a pot. I was boiling water, and I managed to burn like the water, and it exploded the pot.
Wow. So we could literally say Drake Rodger does not know how to boil water.
You could say that, and she does. So she does say that. But yeah, that's probably the fun fact off the top of my head.
Now, how that intrigued me. How can you literally food poison yourself?
Well, I thought that I did not know that you had to cook chicken until it wasn't pink,
Oh.
and so I was cooking some medium rare chicken, and then I found out that you had to cook it till it was white, but then it was like, oh, this is like a lighter shade of pink, and yeah, so
Mhm.
I just learned the hard way, honestly. Um,
Hmm. But isn't that sort of how life works in general with everything? It's learning process no matter what you do. I mean, you have to mow the lawn, you have to learn how to do it. It's everything is a learning process. Do you agree?
I fully agree, and failures are more important than your success. I truly, truly believe that because your failures teach you how to be successful and how to maintain success.
Hmm.
At least that's for me. I'm somebody that oftentimes I got to step in a pile of poop before I learn to avoid it, and it's
Hmm.
unfortunate, but I learn, and it sticks with me.
Hmm. What is the reaction from your fans when they meet you on the street?
Hey, are you that tall dude from Super?
Oh.
um, Yeah, it's usually the first comment is usually, "Holy crap, you're tall," and I'm like, "Yeah, I got that." But no, it's so far it's been a massive outpour of love, and that's felt really really great, and I'm so grateful to be able to to be able to act, but to be able to be a part of the world that they built, and for them to
Mhm,
accept us into that the way they have, is
mhm,
incredible, and then you
mhm.
don't.
Now, how far in advance do you know is Jensen and his group thinking of the show? Are they already plotting like next season, or are they already thinking that far in advance?
Yeah, it's it's a lot of they have a multi-season idea
Mhm,
happening, and a lot of that is dictated on where we're going to be, where the show will be, how fans receive things. That's the it's the nuance of network television is that our show comes out probably 4 episodes behind what we're filming. And so we're able to
mhm,
get a relatively live feedback and make adjustments off of that.
mhm,
So there is an overall idea for multiple seasons, but how we get there will be dictated just based on the success of the show, the things that fans are liking, the things that they're not liking, um, and that's pretty much what I would say to that.
okay. And 10 years down the road, where will we find Drake Rodger?
10 years older, hopefully still acting. If I'm lucky, if I'm
10
fortunate.
years older and still tall, right?
Well, they're still tall, and if I'm fortunate, I'll be making a movie somewhere.
And so your goal, like you says, is to stay in the business, and it is something that you really enjoy doing.
If I'm fortunate enough, yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
Now, do you watch yourself on TV? Do you critique yourself? Do you ever say, "Oh, shoot, I should have did this. I should have said this."
Yeah, yeah. I think that's natural. I've always been a competitive person, but I'm
Mhm.
learning to give myself grace a lot of times. Because a lot of your performances, they're not. is a- This is a little, I don't know, a little unknown secret for most people, but a lot of your acting performance isn't actually up to you. It's based on how it's edited. And so
Mhm.
you can edit a performance however you want, and the edit makes performances, and the edit can break performances.
Mhm.
That said, you do have to act and be,
Mhm.
and deliver a good performance for them to do anything with. But I've had to learn to just give myself a little bit of grace with all that.
Mhm. And finally, any message for your fans out there? Anything you want to tell them?
Thank you guys. I genuinely feel like the luckiest person alive to be able to do this, and you guys helped me do this, and you are the reason that I'm doing this, and you will be the reason that I continue to do this. So I am just incredibly grateful and have nothing but gratitude for you. So yeah.
Great. That's great. That's how we're going to end it right there.